of people that want to testify today. And I'm here till 10 o'clock tonight if it takes. But every disruption in this hearing is going to extend the length of the hearing. And the people at the end of the list, that's going to become their problem. That's just what I'll say. Representative Linsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's always a pleasure to be here before this committee. I have a number of bills before you today, and I'd like to highlight two of them today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Linsky, and I represent the 5th Middlesex District. I'm from Natick. I represent the towns of Natick, Sherburne, and Millis. And prior to my election, I was a Middlesex County prosecutor for 14 years, prosecuted 25 murder cases, numerous other violent crimes, and quite respectfully, I know a lot about solving firearm crimes. I'm here to testify in favor of two bills. House Bill 1561 that deals with microstamping of ammunition, and House Bill 2916, which would close an assault weapons loophole, assault weapons ban loophole right now. And they're both, I would suggest, neither of them are gun control bills. Both of them are common sense law enforcement assistance bills, and I'm going to explain to you why. First, the simplest one, 2916, to close an assault weapons ban loophole. Many years ago, this great general court, in its wisdom, banned effectively assault weapons in this state. That was a legislative judgment that we made. But unfortunately, it left a glaring loophole in the law. We banned all assault weapons in Massachusetts, subject to certain restrictions, that were manufactured after 1994. The way the law is written, however, we didn't effectively ban them if they were manufactured prior to 1994. The reality is that there are thousands and thousands of qualifying assault weapons, including the AK-47 that we've heard mentioned already today, and others, that were manufactured in 1994 and aren't subject to this ban. If we've made a legislative judgment, quite frankly, if we've made that legislative judgment, it shouldn't make any difference whether or not that gun was manufactured in 1993 or in 1995. The reason that this happened is the way that the federal law was worded. And I'd ask, this is a simple fix, and I would ask that this committee give that bill consideration and report that bill out favor. It's to close a loophole. The second one is a bill, 1561, that deals with microstamping. And this is something, I'm going to try to do a little explanation here about the technology behind this bill. Just recently, the state of New York just enacted a similar measure. California already has this law in the books. And what the intent of this bill is to do is to give law enforcement, police and prosecutors, access to the best available technology in order to solve crimes that have been committed with the use of a firearm. It is not a gun control bill, it is a law enforcement technology bill. And let me try to explain that. Many years ago when I was a prosecutor, we used something called ballistic fingerprinting, whereby police could examine either a shell casing or a projectile that was found at a crime scene, looking at what's known as landing grooves or impression marks made on a cartridge, and attempt to match them back up with a known firearm. That's a good technology, but there is a better technology now available, and that's called microstamping. What that is that a microscopic etching is placed on the firing pin of any new weapon, and my bill would apply only at this point to semi-automatic firearms. It would not apply to shotguns, it would not apply to hunting rifles, it would apply to semi-automatic firearms only. So that anyway, so what the technology is, a microscopic serial number is etched onto the firing pin. And when that firing pin is used to cause the firing of that semi-automatic firearm, a microscopic code or serial number is placed on the back of the shell casing. And when that shell casing is ejected, they're typically left at a crime scene. And that once that database is put into effect, that shell casing could be matched back up with the weapon that fired the shell casing, thereby giving the police and the prosecutors a chain of trying to solve that crime. It is a law enforcement tool. We've made advances in DNA, we've made advances in a whole host of other law enforcement techniques. This is the best available technology as far as solving firearm-related crimes. As I said, New York State Assembly just passed this. California has enacted this for a while. Now, it's not going to solve crimes overnight, and I would be mistaken if I claimed that it did, because it will take quite some time before the database starts including enough weapons to be able to, quite frankly, solve a crime, because it only applies to new weapons as they're sold, new semi-automatic firearms. But we should start this now, quite frankly, because it is the best available technology that is available to solve crimes. We use DNA for cases. This is the best available technology for firearm cases. I suggest that we do it. I know that there's a concern about cost. The startup cost, quite frankly, has been estimated to be about $7 per new firearm in the first year, new semi-automatic firearm. That's the cost of it. To obviously be borne either by the manufacturer or the purchaser of a new firearm. But quite frankly, that cost will go down because that's a startup cost to be able to put the technology in place at the manufacturer level, and it will, after a series of years, it will be virtually no cost whatsoever. I would ask that this committee work with this. I have a whole lot of studies available that I'd be happy to work with this committee and staff to do this, and I'd ask favorable consideration of this bill. As I said, it's not a gun control bill, it is a law enforcement process. I thank you very much for your consideration, and I look forward to working with the committee as always.
Thank you. Any questions from the members of the committee?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Adams. Representative Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, it's certainly a pleasure to be here. I will be brief. I just would like to register my opposition to one bill in particular, which is 1561, as you know, which has to do with microstamping of all ammunition. There's a couple reasons why I oppose this bill. I'd just like to say, first of all, the argument, of course, is that a microscopic code would be imprinted onto the back of the ammunition, which would then be fired, and when it leaves the cartridge, then it would be left in a crime scene, and that would allow police better law enforcement tool in order to solve a crime. There's a couple problems, I believe, with this in particular, and I'd like to mention those. Microstamping has repeatedly failed in tests, and there are studies after studies that show this, and I'd be happy to provide those if you're interested. The vast majority of microstamped characters on a cartridge with the alphanumeric serial number couldn't be read on any of the expended cartridges that had left the gun and had been examined. Microstampings can also be easily removed, and certainly for anyone who's intent upon committing a crime, those numbers would be easily removed, and they could do it with household tools. They could obliterate the numbers in literally just a few seconds. Also, most gun crimes cannot be solved just by microstamping, and they do not, in fact, require microstamping to be solved. Many times there are no cartridges for police to recover. Semi-automatic pistols, of course, are probably one exception, but you have a lot of single-action bolt rifles. You have other rifles that do not have a cartridge with action that leaves, and they can be easily concealed. And also, as you know, most criminals get guns through unregulated channels, and statistics consistently prove that as well. And according to the FBI, most criminals get guns via the black market as well. And I think that this bill would further encourage these criminals to get guns illegally, especially if guns would be linked to them through a computerized database. And just a couple other quick things. I will be brief. I represent, I believe I provide a unique perspective. I represent the city of Lawrence. I work closely with the local officials there and law enforcement, and not once have they told me that they think microstamping would be cure-all for a lot of the crime, especially gun crime that they deal with in their streets. The city of Lawrence, despite all the bad press that I've heard recently, is a great city with a lot of great people that care deeply